All right, so it's 5 o'clock and I would like to call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is to allow for public comments from those of you here, or is there anyone with us? I can't tell if there's anyone.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is the list of participants. So yes, there are people on Zoom.
Okay, so here first, if there would like to be any
Yes, I
public
have
comments,
a public comment, and it was suggested by,
your name and
oh, yeah.
in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
can give you 3 minutes. My name is Teresa Iyer, and I'm a public servant for Dayton, Washington, and have been for the last 10 years. And it was suggested by a constituent to address Seth Bryan directly, and it was my understanding this was the correct forum to do so. And Chuck Amron told me to investigate for myself some things. And so upon investigation, I do have some concerns. Seth, is it my understanding that you run a Dayton Uncensored Facebook page?
Could we keep this to court business, and this is not a question and answer period, this is a comment
Okay.
period.
So it's my understanding that Seth Bryan runs a Dayton Uncensored page. I do have material here from that page. I do have some concerns that there's some libel harassment and character assassination of our current library director that's being allowed on that page. With commentary calling him a pedophile and other things. Pedophilia is a DSM-5 diagnostic criteria requiring a psych eval. And so it's concerning when an elected official is running a page that he's not only participating in character assassination and libel, calling for this man's job, but it sets the county up for lawsuit, in my opinion, for libel and character assassination. Todd Vanderbark has a master's in library science with a specialization in technology as well. And I just feel like it's unprofessional. I don't think the people that are doing this have the credentials to even throw rocks at this point. I think as a community, we need to be working towards a united instead of this division. I think that this is a leadership position and the unprofessionalism speaks for itself. I also have 3 packets with my concerns and my rationale following my concerns that I'd like you guys to review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone online via Zoom who would like to make any comments? All right, then the public comments period is over. Thank you very much. Administrative items, approve the minutes. I took a look at the minutes. Any questions?
No, they look good to me. And I would move that we approve the minutes as written.
Okay, with 2, I'll be seconding, and is that correct?
Correct. And then it's passed.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't even have to vote.
Okay.
And we will have, because we were waiting to see if Johnny was going to join the meeting, but we will scratch out Johnny's name and have one of you sign. Either you can do it as chair, or you can what is the word, delegate Seth as the temporary secretary, however you want to do it.
So I can sign it, just.
Scratch it out and put your name,
Is
yeah.
this one?
Oh, there you go.
That was easier one. 1 second.
Nope.
Oh. Acting secretary? Or
Just do chair, yeah.
All right, finances, review the monthly budget reports.
Okay, it was sent out to you ahead of the meeting. Do you have any questions on anything on the budget report or the Voucher sheet, you will notice the ginormous check to Indorus. That is our property and liability insurance for a year. It has gone up almost 15% every year for the last few years.
So what was it last year, Jenny?
70, let's see.
We budgeted 70,000.
Yeah, I think it was 60 something actually, because we budgeted more than. But see, we don't get the invoice until September of the year, so
Right.
it's hard.
Right.
So we're paying it now and I have to just make an estimation on what I think it's gonna be the following year.
Sure. Okay. So my only question was, so we're at 52% of our tax revenue for the year. Why are we so low?
Because we only get taxes twice a year.
So we're going to get some additional taxes.
Correct, yeah, the taxes are due in April and October, and so we get money from the county in May and November.
Okay, very good.
Well, it shows up in, actually shows up, let's see,
April,
it
May.
shows up in the October. On the income side, it will show up on the October income, but we don't know about it until November.
Okay,
But we have to document it in the month it was received by the county. Does
okay,
that make sense?
yes, it does.
Because it was received by the county, they don't send it to us, they hold our money.
So I was just curious,
Yeah.
April, May, but we received two bunches.
Yeah, some people pay taxes early. Some of the big corporations especially do.
All right.
Yeah.
Those were the only questions I had.
So only questions I had was, if we put some money in for, or spent some money for economic development, 2022, was it? Just curious what that was.
I think that was just the event.
Okay,
Yeah, if you look on the vouchers, there's a $650 check to Adam Kirtley, that is Road Lobster, the band.
oh, okay.
And then what else, Tracy? That we did for the event? Oh, the porta potties.
Okay.
We have porta potties with hand washing station, so that's 285. And I'd have to look at what else. I don't know if there's anything else or not. I didn't add those up, but
So
that's what it is.
That was my only other question
Yep.
was who's about, or Adam Kirby, who is that for?
Yeah, and that's the event.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And the vouchers then.
You will approve it, you will sign it. Tracy's got the sheet. I didn't. Not sign it yet. But here we go.
Okay. The bank signer change.
Okay, so when, what is that? When Bank of Idaho bought Home Street, they were going through bank paperwork and we have an old employee that was still on we have an incidental account. It's like our petty cash. It has $1,000 in it. We've talked about it before. So we can write checks up to $250 between meetings for that account. And so it has an old employee on it. So we need to remove that person and then and we need a motion. It has to be formally done by you two in the meeting. And so to remove Valerie Kerr, and I'd like to add Tracy, so I'm not the only one on the account.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
So then I will move that we remove Valerie from the account and put Tracy on.
I second.
okay,
Motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, preliminary budget discussion.
Okay, so this month is just kind of talking things through. And then next month I will have a budget document prepared for you that has usually I do 2 years previous, then show my estimation of where we'd be at year end and then a budget. So, and then I put notes on it so you can see if there was a line that was changed, why, if it was higher or lower, whatever. So this document that I sent you was just kind of to spark some discussion. I believe I've done some year-end figuring, and if you look on the budget report, you'll see at the bottom of the end cash balance under October.
Mhm.
Do you want me to pull it up on the screen, Seth?
Not that here.
Okay.
So I have to pull it up.
Okay. It says minus 25,000. Well, we have but it also, we have 100 in reserve, 100,000 in reserve and 400,000 in the temporary investment. So that's not a real negative number, right? But it is a starting point for, I figure what the income, I make estimations on what I think the income will be for the remainder of the year
Mhm.
and the expenses for the remainder of the year. And so I anticipate we'll get about 224,000 in taxes, about 81,000 in rent, 18,000 in ADO funding. And so it's about 323,000 more. And that's pretty conservative. I didn't count the wheat crop. I didn't count the sale of the railroad siding. I didn't count, I try to be conservative on the income side. And then expenses, we've got 13,700 more in, oh, that's not right. That's per month, 39,000 more in debt service. Monthly bills, we still have to paint the GSA building. So my rough estimate is that we would have about $110,000 over the $100,000 reserve and the broadband money that has been set aside. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, that is a rough estimate. It's really hard to judge, but I do try to be conservative, so it's not, I don't make a mistake on the estimating, that we'll have more money than I think that we will. And then, as we've discussed before, on the expense side of the port's budget, just because it was budgeted doesn't mean we have to spend it. And you'll note there are many categories we haven't spent anything in, or we're underspending. And then there's a few that we've overspent, like insurance is $11,000 more than we budgeted. But it all evens out in the end. And unlike the county, we don't have to do a budget amendment every time we over or underspend in a line item. Thank goodness. With the county, they have to do a budget amendment. So, okay, so that's where I'm thinking we stand. So what I will do is go through and prepare the budget based on this year's budgeted line items and then adjust them accordingly, whether I think there needs to be more added because of inflation or whatever reason. And then we can make determinations where to put any additional revenue that we think, because we are going to have some cash on hand. Doesn't mean we have to spend it, but we can decide whether we want to put some in the reserve, which I would recommend. If we want to, we budgeted this year for, well, actually, maybe we should go category by category before I start talking details. But anyway, that's the idea, is cover the bases and then determine what we want to do economic development wise. So, I sent you that letter from I'm going to start on the notes that we were discussing. Let's see, I could have gone through this stuff sooner. Sorry, I didn't show it. So the insurance expenses, based on that letter we got from them, I'm not sure whether to try to raise it 10 or 15%. It was kind of, the letter was a little bit confusing and we don't have any vehicles. So, I will make, I don't know, I think there's probably budget $90,000 minimum for that.
So can
Maybe
you
a
tell me
little
when
more.
the last time was that we did a comparative look at other insurance companies?
It's been a while, and if you would like to do that, we can, but other ports have done it. And this is a governmental entity pool.
Right, that's
So
what I
there's not very
understand.
many that
Yes.
will insure a port.
Mhm.
So, but we can if you want.
I
I
was
mean,
just
if you
curious.
do, that's fine
I
with me.
mean, we've been with them since.
Since I've been here 15 years or
Yeah.
more, at least as long as I know. Yeah. Yeah, and they insure a lot of governments and, but we can if you want to. I would have to do some research and it probably wouldn't affect us until 2024, honestly.
Okay,
But if you want to, you can ask me to do that and I will.
well, being that we have been with this insurance company for a period of time, it seems like when you have an existing insurance, sometimes it's good to check to
Yeah.
see if there's anything out there that's better. Well, not better, it will
Yeah.
cover exactly the same, but at a lesser premium.
Mhm.
And, but I was just curious on this. So this is in place for 1 year.
We are just now
just-
paying and it's for the 2023, except it starts now.
Right.
Their year is
Yes.
like September to September, so. But if you want, I'm happy to do that if you want to. You guys just need to give me that direction as a commission.
Didn't the rates just go up on us like last year?
Oh, every year.
Mhm.
Every year. If you read that letter, they've had a lot of claims and, we pay for other people's
Yes.
stuff and with
Yeah.
all the remember the well, you don't, none of you were here. Ice damage in 2017 was severe. We got a $600,000 payout from them. So that didn't help. You know, you make a claim, you get a. you
Premium
get a-
increase.
Yeah, and so other ports, if they get claims,
Mhm.
Sure.
it affects but I don't think it's any worse than the private sector.
Right.
I don't. But yeah, it was, when I first started here, I think our property insurance was $24,000 a
Oh, my
year.
gosh.
So that's why the commissioners, it was the set of commissioners before you had directed me to, as leases came available to raise, or came up for renewal, to make sure we were giving some increases if it hadn't been done over a certain amount of time. So we've done that slowly but surely, but it's really hard to keep up, you know,
Okay.
because you don't want to raise a tenant's insurance more, or rent more than 2%, probably 2% a year. And even that's kind of hard on some of them, so. Yeah. Okay, and then staff or payroll increases, I would suggest a 3% cost of living adjustment. Often we do 2. It's a pretty bad year, but we are going to be under budget in our salaries anyway, so even if we budgeted the same amount of money, it would cover an increase, so. And then restricted funds, we will.
Could I make a comment on
Sure.
that? Okay, realizing that the CPI for 2023 is 9%,
Mhm.
I would make a suggestion that you go more than 3%. I mean, we're all being affected by inflationary costs and I don't know how you feel about that, Seth.
Be interested to see what we have in the budget,
Sure.
and if it's gonna cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to give a larger increase, but it's gotta make sure the money's there. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's see where we stand on that.
I'm not saying we go 9%.
Yeah, I just put, yeah, we can, when we go through the actual numbers next week, we can discuss that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so restricted funds for specific projects, we will have part of the broadband match carryover because the way the state reimburses us, they want to reimburse us for. They have a formula, so the match is gonna get spread out over the project instead of spent up front. I thought it would be spent first. Depends on which government agency you're working with. Sometimes they want you to spend the match first and then get reimbursed for your out-of-pocket expenses. This one, they spread it out. So there will be some carryover. Probably just leave the 400,000 in the temporary investment unless there's been a big outlay. I don't have any other restricted funds other than that. So debt service, if you were planning on any new debt service, like building a building and wanting to issue a bond, that would be something to plan for. We actually have one debt that's going to be retired in the middle of 2023 because we've been paying extra on the industrial building number 2 bond. So that actually frees up another about $25,000 that I didn't include in what I said was available. So that's another 25 that would be available for shifting to something else. Maintenance, there's just almost never enough, so I always try to put as much as we can afford in there, as much as makes sense. Same with capital improvements. We have traditionally adopted the capital facilities budget in January, and that really doesn't make sense because we're budgeting in September or October. So I would say that as we go through the comp plan process and kind of determine what the direction of work is going to be for the next few years, that we shift the adoption of the capital facilities to the same time we adopt the budget.
Right.
That would be my recommendation. Admin costs, we will just have to review. I will go through things like the janitorial and the office supplies and see how we're doing, you know, whether we budgeted enough or things are got more expensive, we need to raise it a little bit more. So I'll go through and make notes on that for you. Uh-oh, there's somebody in the waiting room. Okay, so on the income side, the tax levy, we are allowed a 1% increase by law per year. Do you all understand, do both of you understand how the levies work? That we're legally allowed to tax up to 45 cents per thousand. But after the Tim Eyman initiative passed in 1996, it's limited to 1% per year. So we're not at the 45 cent rate anymore. It goes down depending on the investments by big companies here. It goes up and down. We're more around probably 42 or 43 cents. To go back to 45 cents would be a vote of the people, which I have never recommended. But the 1% is what's allowed by law through a resolution by the commission, which would be about $4,700. And I have for 15 years always recommended taking the 1% because it doesn't even come up, keep up with inflation. So to me, that seems like the minimum. But I'm happy to hear what you think about that. Vacancies, if we have any vacancies, we need to address it. There's not much. It's not gonna affect income very much. Grants, account for carryover grant funds and any other grant funds that you may want us to apply for. I think I've described this to you before, but we usually have an item on our budget called special projects and put $100,000 in it. And then don't spend it if we didn't get a grant. So it gives us a line to put some of those smaller grants in. Let's see, other things to keep in mind, the reserve, I already mentioned that. I really would like to see it go up. It just seems like too little for a port with this much activity, you know?
I agree.
And broadband operations after construction, that is going to generate income and expenses, which is really hard for me to even contemplate at this moment because I don't know when it's going to be completed. But I think that I probably should do maybe 6 months worth next year. Just so we've got a line item, because it's going to start at some point, then we'd have the line item and we could see how it pencils out. And then the comp plan, the state law does say that, you know, what we spend money on is supposed to be listed in our comp plan. So, you know, there may be, other than like master planning, or we can do master planning all day long without it being in the comp plan, you know, but like if we're to spend on buy a building or something, that needs to be in the comp plan. So that our planning process will help with that. So the things that I had written down after I went through this is, you know, we talked about matching the rail grant, the FRAP grant for $20,000. So we need to account for that. It may not happen, but we should put it in. The second building at Blue Mountain Station, there's a in the space where the hemp processor is, the front wall never got insulated or sheetrocked. It's not a high priority, but I would like to kind of put it on the list as something to consider if we've got money to do it. The Lions Ferry Marina pull-through site work, I think we should try to put some money aside for match, although I don't think the grant we would apply for that is due until 2023. But just in case, I think we should try to maybe put a little bit there. If we want, we budgeted this year for the potential design of a new building, which we didn't do, which is part of the reason we're gonna have $100,000, carryover. So we can do that again. We had put $50,000 in architecture and engineering, and we can always do things like that. And then if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. If we do, it's there. Talked a lot about housing and master plan. I don't even know how to approach that at this point. But if we did put any money in architecture and engineering, it could be used for the same, that would be the same subject matter. And then if we were to have the railroad appraised, I have a rough quote from an appraiser of $12,000. So I don't know if we're going to do that or not, but we might want to have some money in, I don't know which line item it would go, but put some money aside for that. Those are just things off the top of my head that I thought of. And then I didn't think to send you the capital facilities plan ahead of time. I did have a question, did I not print it? I printed it. Well, I think I put it up here. Let me stop my share and share again. There it is. No, it's hard to read. We had, I wanted to ask about energy efficiency projects. In the past, we have, if you see on here, I have lighting, industrial building number 3 office.
Can you zoom that, Jim?
I don't, if I
Bottom
can
right.
try. Oh, there it is, okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Can you see it, Seth?
Yeah. I got it
Okay.
right here.
So if you'll notice, like lighting, industrial building number 3 office, number 4. What we were doing here was, going through and replacing the old fluorescent lights, the T12s, the big ones with the smaller ones, the T5s. And now what we've done is LED, if there's the option. But given some of the discussion about grants and such, I want to know if the commission is interested in, pursuing any of the federal money that may be coming down through the state for energy efficiency projects.
I would say yes. I'm just curious, that would have to come through a grant. Tell me how federal grants are difficult to.
They are, but if they're washed through a state agency,
Yes.
sometimes they're easier, so I don't know. I can't tell you right now how it would be, but,
I've heard horror stories on
yeah.
federal grants.
yeah, they can be. But the question is, do I even bother to research this stuff and figure it out? Because I went to a funding meeting today with the USDA, Rural Development, SBA, the SBDC, and they were talking about all of their programs, and one of the ones they said was going to have a lot of potential impact was energy efficiency, especially for buildings.
Mhm.
And we talked about the downtown buildings, so many of them are, the ones that are empty are not energy efficient, and that's part of the reason.
Right.
But they're private let's see, I think they can work for private buildings, the building owner would have to apply.
Mhm.
But there definitely will be some for government buildings too, so just curious,
So how much would we be talking about as far as a grant? I mean.
Oh, they're,
50,000?
it would be probably small amounts. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're offering. If it's HVAC units, we're already pretty good on that.
Mhm.
We already have insulated buildings, but I don't know. It could be lights, it could be solar panels. I don't know. So I just was curious your appetite for the investigation of those funds. Because I don't want, if we're not interested in getting any of the federal or state funds, I don't want to go after it.
Do you need a,
We can talk about it at the next meeting. It's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
food for thought.
My
Yeah.
concern is, getting $10,000 in funds for a, project that turns out to be $50,000, where you have to spend 40,000 to get the 10,
Right.
that costs a good money, so.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're like, so I
Right.
would have to investigate, yeah, and they're not, I don't think they're out yet,
Mhm.
but.
Right.
It's just a direction, there is it's our taxpayer money, so I feel like we should bring it back here if we can.
can we hold the conversation?
He
Um,
wasn't able to see that because it's not blown up well enough, so I was trying to read that to him.
Thank you.
uh. I kind of lost my train of thought, I guess that was it, yeah, I guess that was it. So shall I just go through and make my projections for the next meeting, or do you have any specific direction you want to give me at this moment? We'll go through it line by line at the next
Right.
meeting and you'll have it ahead of time.
I would be interested in not taking the 1% levy, because with inflation the way it is, it's put enough a burden on the citizens and taxpayers as it is without having to raise their rates. I'd like to see if we can do a little bit more on less, without increasing the burden that we've already put on the taxpayers with our existence. So, that would be a suggestion that I would have, is to skip the 1% levy increase this year.
Let's see how the budget turned out without that 1%.
Anything else?
Fine, there will be when we go through it line by line.
Okay, that's it.
All right, leases.
Okay, we have 2 leases this month. As I told you last month, Mama Monticelli was moving out of Blue Mountain Station, but Sweet Cheeks Bake Shop that's been using the commercial kitchen said she wants to rent the space. So she is, we're not starting it until October 10th, 15th, because Nancy's not sure she's gonna get all the way out by the 1st. So that's what we have, and it's a 2-year lease.
Yeah.
2-year lease, as most of them are standard up in. Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, and the second one is the lease extension for the rail operator, Columbia Rail. This is a 3-year extension that is called out in his original lease, and he has chosen to exercise it. The only thing that he asked is that he wants verification that we are satisfied with his reporting and the reporting requirements, which he has been reporting annually, well, mostly annually for his car usage and such. So, and I actually had told him that I was fine with it, but he brought it up again today. So if there are any, let's see, here's 2021, this is 2016 through 19. So I've got reports in here. So if you have any concerns, now is the time to speak up.
He's doing fine.
We do have weed complaints. Again, but
Again, this year was a horrible year for weeds.
it is,
So I can't say that we can, comment on this year's production or performance.
all right, thank you. That's it for leases.
Okay, the comp plan process.
So I sent you a copy of the RFP and it is out, and so I have responses due by the October 7th. So the idea would be to be able to make a decision at the next meeting to move forward with the consultant. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I think that'll be really important, because then it just really helps determine the direction, Because there's so many things we're not supposed to do if it's not listed there, that we need to have that sorted out.
thank you. An update on our port assets, Rock Hill Industrial Park.
Not much going on here except for HVAC work, of course, because it's hot summer. So we've had three, well, let's see, 2 calls. We had Jay's Garage. We had, what did I tell you? What did you tell me, Tracy? I asked you to tell me, and what was the other? Oh,
the
Columbia
detailing.
River Detail, the new business that's doing the detailing. His unit wasn't working correctly. And then we did put the new unit in at the co-location center where the broadband co-location center will be. So that's in. Good price. Mill Creek Mechanical did a good job on all of it. Let's see, Dave Harvey is thrilled to have the whole building number 1. He came in the other day and Jen said that it's just, he's got so much more room and the overhead doors, and so he's very happy to have that whole building. I can't think of anything else in the park, can you, other than weed chasing?
Okay. Lions Ferry Marina.
Nothing new. They have a new phone number, but other than that, they're just moving along at their own, taking care of business on their own, which I appreciate. Oh, they did have I forgot, they did have a plugged sewer line. That's right. Let's see, where was I? I was somewhere out of town and they had a plugged sewer line, and I think they were a bit panicked, but it got sorted out. Total Comfort brought out their jet, and I think they were really worried that it was really serious, and it was okay. So,
All right, thanks. Blue Mountain Station.
So our next activity is the Fall Festival, which we moved to September 24th this year. It sometimes can be cold and windy in October, so that is next weekend, and Tracy and Kelly have done a good job planning it.
Not
we-
this weekend.
yeah, not this weekend, the following weekend. So Road Lobster will be there, and are gonna have a cakewalk. And I have a gardening addiction, and I grow too many gourds, so I will be bringing my little pumpkins and things for the kids to paint. And, because I need to do something with them. And, what else do we have, Tracy? Oh, barbecue, we have food. We have Oktoberfest food and barbecue.
Your garden.
Mhm. Yeah, and Cedar Rain can do the beer garden now because their license allows them to make drinks out of their own vodka. Plus, they can serve Dave Harvey's wine, and they can serve Chief Springs beer, which is fabulous because we don't do alcohol.
Mhm.
And we've always had to try to get the chamber or somebody to come and do a beer garden.
Right.
So now the tenants can do it. So that's really, really nice.
Okay, so tell me about the garden.
Oh, the garden, yes. So I have sent an email to the gardener and said to her that it looks to me like you've abandoned the garden. And she said that it was more than she bargained for with her toddler, and that now she is expecting and has been sick, but that she will get in there and take care of it. So she abandoned it, yeah.
Oh, too bad.
I think, yeah.
Too
She
bad.
really did try it first, but
Yes.
it's horrid.
I mean, you
yeah.
talk about your addiction with gardening.
Yeah.
Why not just put gourds out there
Yeah,
or
I-
corn? Just, put
I-
something out there.
Yeah, who, the port?
No, somebody.
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah.
you.
Sometimes I just want to go rip the fence out and plow it up, but no, I don't know.
I know.
I know, it's very, it's hard. It's a bigger space than you think.
Just two
It
crops.
doesn't look that
Corn
big, but
and
yeah.
pumpkins. And I
Yeah.
think it would be great
Yeah.
for your Oktoberfest.
Yeah, it
for
would
the
be.
kids to
Yeah.
go get
Yeah.
pumpkins
Yeah.
or have a small corn.
Well,
maze.
maybe we should reconsider a different model. Maybe I should ask a farmer to do it, somebody who could just come in and do it. And not, I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, so yes, I have asked her to take care of it. I mean, she's paid rent. It's not like she's completely abandoned it, but she's just,
So she's
she
continuing.
gave up. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
All right, thanks. The railroad.
okay, so we did get Columbia Rail got their FRAP application submitted, and I did right for the meeting, sent you a copy of the letter. I forgot that Johnny had asked. So a copy of the support letter that I sent. And I did get
Did we support that?
the 20,000. Yeah, everybody, I'm sorry, I should have followed up. Everybody agreed to that number. And as long as we sell the siding, which we will, I mean, so that works quite well. I like putting the money back in where the revenue is coming from. I did get a call from a citizen who had heard the discussion at the last meeting about potentially eliminating crossings. And believe it or not, this citizen was not opposed to that idea at all. In fact, they said they kind of understood because there were a couple of those crossings are really rough. But the person wanted to make sure that the Cherry Street was not considered one of the ones that was closed because it's a good crossing and there's a lot of houses on it. So I logged that comment and just thought I better share it with you. That was the only thing I heard about that subject. And then, the siding surplus, I have asked Northwest Grain Growers to finish the survey. Because there is really no other way to determine the endpoints, and so they have agreed to do that. So that's what they're doing. So that's why we haven't closed on it yet. They're gonna finish that survey. And I think that's it. I did get, a complaint from the city of Waitsburg about weeds, and I told them to contact the rail. I copied the rail operator and all the people at the rail and said, you need to talk to them. We had to go back and forth a couple of times, but I just had to tell them that it's the rail operator's responsibility. It's in his lease. So he said he'd try to work it out with him. But Paul does push back. He says that he takes care of what is required by the Federal Railroad Administration, which is about 20 feet. And
Yeah, understood. Okay, all right. Thank you.
that's it on that area.
Community and economic development, Jenny.
Okay, so I told you about the meeting I went to today. It was at the Walla Walla Airport and it was interesting. Most of the programs I've heard before, but the SBA and the SBDC are working pretty well together these days to help businesses. I think the COVID emergency, believe it or not, helped some of those agencies get better at providing services to businesses. So I think they're a little bit more nimble. We've had 2 startup business inquiries this month and everybody always wants money. So I've been referring them to the SBDC and we have a good advisor down there that's been helping. Let's see, Tracy and I have taken on a project with the task force to, if at the stoplight on Main Street, the original revitalization project called for 4, I can't remember if they were plum or pear trees, but the rest of the trees are all London planes, but there were supposed to be 4 flowering trees at that corner that would be more of an impact, make an impact. Well, they have not survived. There's only 1 pear tree left. And in fact, when the city has gone to plant more trees in those spots, they've died. They had the soil tested and one of them had I can't remember, a high level of zinc or it had something in it. So the city has asked the task force's help for coming up with something to do at the 4 corners. And so, public art or something that could take the place of those trees, because right now you walk by and there's boards and you can trip over them. And so instead of planting trees, to come up with something at those 4 corners. So Tracy and I have been brainstorming and trying to come up with ideas and so we're gonna work with Ryan at the city.
Is there
on
Is there
just
still
looking at
a city arbor committee?
There's a tree committee. Oh, yeah,
Is that through the downtown?
they work together. Yes. Yeah, they have I think they have what they call a tree replacement strategy. They're trying to sort it out, but the trees are not what have caused the sidewalks to heave. The roots are growing down, but apparently the gravel, the underneath part when they poured the sidewalks in 1993 was not prepared correctly and it has allowed heaving. But the trees contribute because that's an opening in the sidewalk that allows water to get in. So it's not the roots pushing it up, it's the
Correct.
water getting under. And they want to fix them, but they don't want to fix them and then have it happen again. So they're working with a couple of different arborists on making sure whatever they do makes sense without denuding the main street of trees. So yeah, I've been involved in that as well. No action yet. They got a grant to replace part of the sidewalks. The city did.
They did.
Yeah, yeah. So they're trying to make sure they do it
Good.
right. Yeah, they got about, I think, an $80,000 grant that'll do some of those spots where it got ripped up. Yeah, so I think other than broadband, I have been working with one of the businesses we were working with that was interested in buying land. Said that she had received an idea that to ask for a lower value for the land. But there is an RCW I just wanted to make sure you're aware of. It's RCW 53.25.140. That does not allow a government to sell property for less than market. Yeah, so just want to make sure we know about that, but I'm going to continue to meet with them. They got a small grant, and so I'm going to continue to meet with them and see if we can make that work.
So the market value or appraised value or assessed value or how is?
The word in the RCW is market value, and it has to be done by 2 appraisals, it says. I've never done 2, I've done 1. But when, the port's been turned into the state auditor before for people who thought we undervalued something or overvalued something. So that's the beauty of the appraisal.
Sure.
Is then you have a concrete, this is what we did. We didn't give anybody a deal. We didn't short anybody, it's like both ways. They want to make sure the government is fair and doesn't give anybody a cut rate or too much. So, yeah. So we could have another appraisal done, but that would cost, the first one was, what was it, 6,000 or 4,500? I can't remember.
65. Something like
Yeah,
that.
so we'd have to find another company, and pay it someone separate, so. I don't know if it's worth it. Okay, that is it for my report.
Housing,
I really don't have anything. I've just left it on there because we were talking about it. I think when we do the comp plan is when we'll really talk about it. Yeah. Unless you guys have something more to report. I know Seth, you talked about going to a meeting with a,
I haven't had time to go
Okay,
meet with them
okay,
yet.
okay.
Yeah, it's been a crazy.
Well, it may be that we just want to do that during the comp plan process anyway, have people come and tell us about their experiences. Yeah. And just so you know, I mean, when we do that, it's, the idea is to invite the public and invite, have people really participate and,
that's right. And then the status of broadband.
okay, that's fun and exciting. So I went to the city council meeting last night for the first reading of the franchise agreement and it went well. They had lots of good questions. I've got stuff that Tracy and Kelly put in the fair booth, so I took the map with us and I do have do you want to grab that for me? Have some cable examples of what the fiber cable sizes would be. And I didn't have to do a presentation to them, but I just thought it'd be good to do an update. So, so this would be to have 288 strands in it. It goes down to 12 strands, but we actually will have 432 strands. So that we will have a bigger piece and it's armored, but the armor is inside. So right on this little, in here is a metal armor. And you can, you can hope it's squeal, ha ha. But that's the idea, yeah. And then the rest of it is all the fibers and the tracer line and all kinds of things. So, took that and then I took, it always takes time to explain the providers, but I took, brochures from all three of the providers from Emerge by Inland Cellular and Columbia iConnect and Pocket iNet. So they understood we had the providers and explained it to them. So that seemed to go well. They could not adopt it the same night they read it, so they probably won't adopt it until October meeting. I think it's October 12th. And then I went to the county on a week and a half ago. They held a public hearing, but the two attorneys had not finalized the agreement. I talked to, or Kim has sent comments to Dale. Dale has sent them to the Public Works Department. They called me today just to verify we were all good. So I believe it's going to be on the agenda for next Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. And that will allow us to move forward with going out for bid. And they can be in process. We can go ahead and go out for bid even if they're not quite done. And let's see, so something that came up last night that I thought I would bring up just to make sure people are all clear on it. We will be hanging fiber on the Pacific Power poles, also on Columbia REA poles. So we're working on a pole attachment agreement with them right now. And Pacific Power is who tells us what specifications those poles have, that we have to hang our fiber on that pole. So it's called make ready. So in other words, if they come along and they say, you have the power line here and the cable has to be 40 inches below that and the fiber has to be 40 inches below that, or whatever it is, they call the shots. It's their pole and we have to construct to those standards. So the questions I got last night were about TV and their cable system. We have no control over that cable system. If Pacific Power tells us we have to lower it or raise it or cut it, which they won't, but that's what we have to do. It is in terrible shape. And
Is
it's
it even still operating?
no. And I know the city's been working on it, because they have a franchise agreement with them, and if you abandon a facility that, there are steps that take place.
Mhm.
And I believe that the company is supposed to take it down or do something with it, but I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is the port has nothing to do with that part of it. That's between the city and Pacific Port. And so there are a lot of questions on that, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that we don't have any part in it. But if it's in the way, we have to move it and make it fit the specifications, even though we really don't want to have to do that. Because we didn't wreck it, or we didn't let it sag, or we didn't. So. And then we are starting our visits with apartment complexes. When you have an apartment complex, you can't really take a fiber line to every apartment. So usually you put a communications hub in one spot. So we need to meet with the apartment building owners and make sure they are on board and what they want to do. So that's. And still working on the master lease. And the ISPs, these guys have asked for more detailed information on the project regarding, so they can start getting their equipment in order for the co-location center. So Kara from Porter Whitman is working on a document, going to share with them all the specifications of what we're doing. We had signups at the fair booth. So we had a fair booth. We got a nice ribbon, did a great job. And we are starting to sign people up. And what that means is then we will just give their names to the providers. The port isn't doing anything other than providing information. And I think the companies are ready to start maybe signing people up.
So are these providers, are these internet only, or is it gonna be cable available too, or TV?
No, these are just internet. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there could be
Something that
internet
we-
TV, but
Is
yeah.
that something that could come over this fiber line as television?
it would just not be cable television. It would
Right.
be digital
Right.
television. But yeah, I mean, if you like stream YouTube TV or something like that, but it wouldn't be the traditional cable TV, I don't believe. But I don't know that. I'm not an expert on it. I don't know. I know that Charter, who's been kicking tires here, they would provide TV, but it would be cable again. It would not be fiber. I don't know. It's really hard to tell what's gonna happen with TV.
Yeah. it is.
I still have satellite, but sometimes I look at those 200 channels I don't watch so that I can watch a football game and I think, what am I doing? But you gotta have good enough internet. Oh, and then the other two things I pointed out to the city last night, I don't think I told the county this, and I should have, is one of the differences between our project and a private project is any company that wants to use our fiber can use it. It is called open access. We will not turn anybody down. And any company that uses it has to provide service for low-income families. There are federal programs and they have to participate in them, and all three of these companies do. So there are some families that could get internet, could get 100 megabits per second for as low as $30 with the federal program. So that is one difference. What?
I'm sorry, I just purchased a new television. I'm getting 810 kilobytes
Ugh,
online and I'm.
is it
thinking,
CenturyLink?
Yes, it
No.
is. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Many people are, yeah. And I've also, this is a choice. People can stay with CenturyLink if they want. They don't have to do that. It's a choice.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so that is it, I believe.
Okay, one thing, I was talking to someone who attended city council yesterday and they said you did a fantastic presentation there.
Oh.
And
Oh, good, thank you.
so, lots of charts, lots of information, and they thought your presentation was quite professional, so thank you.
Good, thank you. Appreciate hearing that.
I don't
That is
have
all I have.
anything else.
I did have a question. You'd said that you'd gotten a quote for the appraisal for the railroad at 12,000.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a firm quote. It was a range that this
Range,
gentleman
right.
gave me, yeah.
And I'm just wondering if we don't want to start considering going down that avenue. I know you mentioned that we can't, take action on whether we're going to sell it or not until we modify the comp plan. But it seems that we could at least be working towards that direction to find out if it's even going to be something that's going to be feasible or not, whether or not his offer is going to be in the range of market value, or if it's even something that we can consider. He might not be willing to pay enough, but
Right, that's true.
I'm just curious if we want to, continue working towards the possibility of that direction simultaneously while we're working on the comp plan. That way, things are kind of lined up and proceeding when we do get the comp plan modified, that we're ready to step into that if that's the direction we want to go.
Well, that's up to you guys.
So what you're suggesting is that we go ahead and spend that 12,000 on an appraisal?
I think it's going to be necessary to get
Absolutely.
an appraisal or a value of it before we even know if we're going to have a solid offer on it, or if it's something that's going to be.
The only thing I would say is that you wouldn't spend the $12,000 though, if you guys decided that selling that asset was not, you weren't interested in it.
Right.
In the comp plan process.
Right.
That would be the only thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's really up to you. I mean, if you want to do it, it's okay. But that would be the risk, is that
Yeah.
you spend $12,000 for something that you
Right,
decide
yeah.
is not worth doing, or you don't want to do. Yeah.
And that would be a risk, and we'd have to, of course, assess, whether it's smart to sell or not, or, if it's going to be in the interest of the community as far as economic development and whatnot, but, I don't know, I just hate to sit on it and just let it sit there idle while we could be working through things at once and working towards that direction to find out if it's even something that's viable or not.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe we'll talk about it more when we have Johnny here and just kind of get a better idea of what our interest is and what direction we think
Yeah.
about going and I think we might want to consider, moving forward with the appraisal, see if Paul's willing to split share the cost in that and to see if we can even work towards an agreeable situation.
I guess my thought would be, I would like to know more information before we spend that $12,000 on the appraisal, whether or not we all want to consider
Right,
the sale. I mean,
yeah.
obviously. So I would say we would wait until we get into the.
I'm just
top
trying
line
to keep the
discussion.
discussion going on it.
Absolutely, and we,
not let
and
it
I
stale.
presume we will be.
Well, it is not, yeah, it is not forgotten, trust me. I've got a list in there of things we'll talk about during the comp plan, including the housing and the rail.
Right.
And actually sale of port property in general,
Right.
because, we've talked about selling the 2 lots down there, but then you've said, oh, it's hard to get rid of, and I feel the same way, but then on the other hand, you want to have the business, so it's good to just have a discussion about it, yeah. But it's not forgotten.
Well, I don't think it's forgotten. I just
Okay,
want to
yeah.
keep moving.
Okay,
keep
well,
moving
we can, I guess one thing I could do, which won't cost us anything, is I could ask that gentleman he gave me a range. So I could ask him, I could say, okay, well, I'll tell him that we don't know for sure we're doing it, but would he like to do a little more research on the true cost?
Sure.
And then we'd have a firm cost. I could do that.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay, anything
Alright.
else, Jenny?
Johnny asked about a flag at the last meeting. We have the flag, but the pole didn't come, so we had to reorder the pole. So there's no flag in here yet.
So hopefully we'll be here next time.
Yeah, and yeah, it is a lot of work to manage that flagpole outside. I don't know if people understand how much time and money goes into managing a flag properly. Lights and not letting it be tattered and up and down. And I mean, the wind back down here, you wouldn't believe how often we have to replace that flag. It's crazy.
It's worth it.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. So the next meeting is October 12th, our normal time. I don't see any reason to have any special meetings in between then. I will make sure you get your budget sheet ahead of time so you can look at it and we'll go through it line by line. Excellent. All right.
Okay, it's 5:58. We'll call the meeting closed.
I think she's.
And
Oh, no, there's somebody in the waiting room. Oh, shoot, it's my husband. Sorry, husband.
Liver.
Thank you, guys. Oh, I will leave it down. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Ready?